You only have so much energy in your life. You only have so much focus in your life. You only have so much ability in your life to choose what you're going to do and what you're going to be and what your identity and your self-image is going to be. And when you choose to be one of these victims who thinks there's an Olympics out there for the saddest motherfucking story, that means you have no room to move forward. You have no room for dreams. You have no room for aspirations. You have no room for the actions that lead to those aspirations because you're so busy filling your mind with the bad shit that's happened to you already in life that you have zero chance moving forward. Explain how that makes sense. Okay, we live in a backwards culture where victim mentality is celebrated. The hard shit, the bad shit, the unfortunate shit that's happened to us is glorified through sympathy and virtue signaling, where all these people, all the people you know, pat you on the ass and say, oh, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Oh, you're so brave. Oh, you're so this. Cool. Maybe you are. But that shit will eventually keep you from getting the life that you actually want. That's the shit that's going to keep you from moving forward, to keep you from focusing on what you could be rather than what's actually happened to you in the past. You get one or the other. You can look forward or you can look backwards, but you can't look both ways at the same motherfucking time. And so many of you guys have got enamored and sucked into this victim culture that we are shoved down our throats from the media, from Hollywood, from all these things where we brag about the bad shit that's happened to us and we talk about all this help we need over here and how flawed we are. Motherfucker, we're all flawed. You don't think every motherfucker out there has a sad story of some sort? Fuck, dude. Everybody has hard shit they gotta go through. There's not a single motherfucking successful person on this planet that hasn't gone through their version of really fucking hard shit.
But I learned along the way, everything that's happening to you is God is processing. Every difficult moment you're having, He just processing. That's all He's doing. Everything you're going through is preparing you for what you ask God for. And if you need to be tough when you get to where you're going, then He gonna toughen you.
I need you to rejoice in the midst of opposition, in the midst of adversity, in the midst of trials. It's a big difference between quoting scripture and having to live it. Whatever you do, please don't quit. The danger of quitting is it has the possibility to become a habit, and then before long, you'll look up and you'll quit on your wife, you'll quit on your relationship with God, you'll quit on anything that brings a level of discomfort, and it doesn't give you the validation you want because you're not getting it and because you're not cut like that.
Life is hard. See, for every time you have a plan, a dream, an aspiration, or a goal, do you know what happens every time you have one of those? This thing comes along called life. It happens to everybody.
We got to wake up every single day. We got to fight and we got to build it. In the midst of opposition, adversity, and challenges, like I told the guys I played with, I don't care how tall your daddy was, you got to do your own growing. True courage is the ability to accept pain and start things without any guarantee of success, but also understanding that the ability to learn is a gift even when pain is your teacher.
Life has disappointments. It's got peaks and valleys. You're going to lose somebody you care about one day. That's a valley. Somebody going to close the plant you thought was going to stay open so you can retire. That's a valley. Somebody going to fire you for an unjust cause. That's a valley.
You judge the character of a person by where they stand in times of challenge and controversy. You got some of the most brilliant people on the face of this planet. When they hit adversity, they can't fight themselves out of a paper bag. And it's not even that they don't have the will, like they got it. It's that the perspective about the adversity isn't right. And I firmly believe perspective drives performance every day of the week. How an individual view what they do will always affect how they do what they do.
You can stop thinking that life finna be easy, cause I got news for you, it ain't. That's a false hope to think you're gonna have a wonderfully carefree life. That's unthinkable.
You watch a movie, you read a book, here's the story. At the beginning of the story, the main character is like really happy. She or he is really healthy. They have incredibly passionate, loving relationships. They have a great family. They love their career. They're financially free. They're spiritually alive. That's how it starts. And then about a third of the way through the story, the person's really happy. They're really healthy. They have a great family. Their finances are great. Their career is great. They feel spiritually and physically alive. And you get to the last portion of the book and they're really healthy and they're really happy and they have great relationships and great finances and everything's perfect. Who's going to go to that movie? Nobody, right? Because what makes us alive, what makes us grow is facing a challenge. My teacher, Jim Rohn, said something to me when I was 17. I'm 60 and I've never forgotten it. He said, Tony, what you get will never make you happy. Who you become will make you really happy or really sad. And I found that to be totally true.
Now, the thing that happens, though, if we really take control of our meaning is we got to pay attention to our emotions. So in your notes, write down emotions. Under emotions, in fact, you might want to write the word negative emotions. Negative emotions. Negative emotions. And then as soon as you write it down, cross it out. The word negative anyway. What are some of your negative emotions? Tell me what they are. Fear, what else? Pardon me? Hate, what else? Anger, what else? Guilt, what else? Worry, what else? Upset, guilt, what else? Frustration. I got a question for you. Are they really negative? I'm here to tell you there's no way they're negative. Every emotion you've ever had in your life serves a purpose. The reason it's negative is you've been calling it negative instead of getting the message it's been trying to give you. Every emotion you have, including those you think of as negative, those ones you call negative emotions, I call them emotional messages. I also call them calls to action. All those negative emotions, as you used to label them, are really a call to action. Fear is a call to action. By the way, do you feel that call to action in your body when you're afraid? Yes or no? Does your adrenaline start pumping? Your whole system start gearing up? Emotions are a call to action. And the call to action says one of two things has to happen in that call to action. It's a message. Every emotion is a message. A call to action. And the action and the message it's trying to give you is that you need to change either, number one, your perception of this, or number two, your current actions. Every negative emotion you've ever felt is not negative. Now, you may be overusing them. I'll agree with you. You may be indulging in them. I agree with you. You may not be getting the message from them. What's making it negative is you're not getting the message it's trying to give you. But every emotion, fear, frustration, hate, anger, guilt, all of those emotions are here to serve you if you get quick the message. What most of us do is we just indulge in the emotion. So we never get the message, and that's why it's negative, because it starts screwing up your body, because what it is a signal to act, and you're not acting. That's why you feel sick to your stomach. You're not acting. You just keep on indulging emotion, not hearing the message. So the message is always, you must change something. Negative emotions are saying you got to change something. Either change the way you're perceiving this, change the meaning you link to this, change your perception, change your focus, or change your actions. Change what you're doing because it isn't working. That's why you're having that emotion. Don't make your emotions wrong. Appreciate them. Be grateful for them, but immediately then ask yourself, hey, what's the message that my emotion is trying to give me here? What do I need to change? My perception or my actions? Does this make sense? Yes, no?
Here's the key to the good life. Learn to put everything you've got into everything you do. Whatever you are doing, pour it on. It will quickly open up into opportunity or quickly disclose to you that you ought to be doing something else. The delusion is, if I had a better job, I'd really pour it on. See, that's delusion. Wherever you are, pour it on. Don't give somebody half a job for a day's pay. Pour it on. See, that'll help change your life. Get rid of this disease. Here's the next attitude disease, indecision. Mental paralysis. The guy can't make up his mind and it becomes a disease. Pretty soon he knows he's got it. The guy says, well, I know I'm on the fence. But he says, what if I get off on the wrong side? Listen, after a while it doesn't matter. Just get off. Any side will do. A life full of adventure is a life full of many decisions. The ones that turn out to be wrong give you better experience to make better decisions. So don't see how many decisions you can get out of, see how many you can get into. That's where the adventure is.
What do I think would be a good New Year's resolution? When I do an assessment and look at my life, I think I have benefited the most from one thing that I do, and that is think strategic. Now, this is a military term. Strategic in the military means big picture. It means long term. Strategic in military terms is where you are going to end up. That's thinking strategic. And the opposite is tactical thinking. Tactical thinking, which again, in the military, means short-term thinking. It means immediate action. It means what's happening right now. So there's a big difference. This is the differentiator for me, is thinking long-term versus thinking short-term. And I believe that this thinking long-term, this thinking strategic, is one of the most, if not the most important concepts a person can consider in order to improve themselves and improve their lives.
I said, but I could use this arm every day for the rest of my life by the way that I live my life, because I would never let a circumstance or a situation define my life. Adversity is adversity. And the reason I love adversity is because you don't judge a person's character by where they stand when everything is all good. Everybody can stand up and do good when everything is all good. Everybody can smile when it's sunshine. Everybody can do right when everything is going right. Everybody can do that. But everybody can't face opposition, adversity, and challenges and say, I've been waiting on you to come. I'm going to embrace you, and I'm going to figure out a way to use you, because you would never turn me into a different person. You would never make me a person that people don't recognize before the adversity. You ever seen a person that faced something and you don't even recognize? Like, the thing I've learned about life, like, everybody is in different businesses, per se. But at the end of the day, we're all in the people's business. And what I mean by that is every day we have a chance to impact somebody's life, right? And I firmly believe with the things we're part of and the things we do, we all have to have a purpose that's a lot greater than ourselves. So when we hit things that we don't understand and that brings us a certain level of discomfort and that hurts us and we just can't pull the grips on it, when we have to encounter things like that, we have to step back and we have to figure out, how can I use it? And a lot of times as people, like, naturally people are selfish, right? And what I mean by that is they approach situations and they say, what can I extract from this situation and how can it benefit me? But the moment an individual shifts their perspective and shift their mentality and shift their attitude from me to we, that is the moment an individual becomes literally dangerous. Because now an individual is attached to purpose and mission. And when you have an individual that's attached to purpose and mission, it's not too many things that's going to stop them. You see, my football career ended, but my reason for why I lived my life, it never did. I just had a paralyzed right arm and hand. My mentality wasn't paralyzed. My spirit wasn't paralyzed. My drive wasn't paralyzed. My dedication wasn't, my commitment wasn't, I was the same man. I just had an extra boost of energy for why I lived my life. I wear this as a badge of honor.
See, I believe the most powerful force in the world is to be consistent with the thoughts, ideas, concepts, and beliefs you hold to be true about yourself. And that is what identity is. Identity is the governor on every single area of your life. It literally sets the temperature for all of the conditions of your life. Shakespeare has this incredible quote that says, we know what we are, but not what we may be. And the who you may be is going to be dictated by your ability to alter your identity, because you are going to always be consistent with what you believe you're worth and what you believe you deserve, or what is your identity. Your identity, the best analogy I could give you, is like a thermostat sitting on the wall of your life. It sets the entire temperature for the conditions of your life in multiple areas. And so most people think their life is dictated by external circumstances. They spend their entire life trying to control what is outside of them. You've all heard the great saying that people in 12-step programs talk about learning to control the things they can and letting go of the things that they can't control. And the fact of the matter is, you cannot always control the external factors that are impacting you in your life. The good news is, it's the external things in your life that do not dictate the direction or the ultimate destination of your life. That is a fallacy. Listen to me when I tell you this. External circumstances do not dictate the ultimate destination of your life. It's an internal game. You and your faith, your God, are what will control the direction of your life, not the external things that are impacting you all the time. And this identity is that internal thermostat. It sets the temperature, just like a thermostat sitting on the wall, of the conditions of your entire life. Let me give you an example of how the thermostat of our lives works. The best analogy I can give you is exactly how one works in the room I'm sitting in. It sets the temperature of the room. And so the external conditions don't impact the internal temperature of this room, because that thermostat regulates the condition of the room.
The most basic answer, I'm sorry it's so simple, but it's true, it's fear. You know, people make it this complex process. This woman was telling me that I don't understand why they don't do this, why I feel this way. I said, it's called fear. Everybody's afraid we're not enough. Everybody's afraid we're not rich enough, smart enough, young enough, quick enough, fast enough. It's human nature. But the secret is to do it anyway. I know that sounds so simplistic. My work when I'm working with somebody is showing them how to condition themselves, like building a muscle, so that you take action first automatically. Because if you don't do that, it's hard. You lose momentum. It's like, how do I get started? Where do I go? And I tell people, throw a rock, wherever it drops, start there. The next person walks by, I go, you're the first person after the rock. Do anything to start the process of moving forward rather than let fear stop you. If somebody is, we were mentioning earlier, if somebody is really stressed out, they're not stressed out for no reason. It's because they're focusing on something that makes them feel stressed. They often, when they're focusing on it, it changes the body. You start to feel tight. You start to feel a certain way. And then they use language like, I don't know what to do. Why am I so overwhelmed? So 3 things control how you feel every moment. What you focus on, what you do with your body. If your shoulders are down, if you're breathing like, oh, it's not hard to figure out. You're not going to be in a very resourceful state. If I take that same person and I change their body radically, I get them to talk at a different tempo. I get them to move their body differently. I've taught this for, 41 years. 3 years ago at Harvard, they did a study on power postures where they showed that if you stand like this with your hands on your hips like Superman or Wonder Woman, or if you lean back like this, like the guy is obnoxious at the office and do this, it literally changes your testosterone by 25% within 2 minutes. It reduces cortisol, which you know is the stress hormone, by 30%, and you're 33% more likely to take an action. So if we change what we focus on, if we change the way we use our body, if we change our language patterns, we'll instantly feel different. Think it's how do people use their body when they're worried versus when they're excited? Yeah. If you learn to use your body first, use your focus first, you can literally change how you feel in moments. And then you develop new habits where you start to feel good all the time. And it isn't some phony fake pump up. It's literally the way you've conditioned your body. Just like being fit as an athlete, you want to be emotionally fit.
You know what you should do? Every time you get a chance to experience first class, you should do it, because it plants a seed. It's like the next time you buy an airplane ticket, just ask for an upgrade. Pay a little extra money, fly first class. What it does is it conditions your mind. Once you get in first class and you see how wide the seats are, and you find out why they shut that curtain, see, because they shut that curtain because they can't let you see what's going on up there. They passing out hot nuts. Everybody get a washcloth. They got a menu. You get to decide what you want. All the drinks is free. Once you sit in first class one time, the next time you get on a plane, it's very difficult to walk past them seats. And then your mind starts thinking of ways to get back to first class. And guess what? That's what you start attracting to your life. And you start behaving and producing stuff to get you back into first class. That's how you move up. You just take, like buy you one really expensive outfit. Just see how it fits. That shit is high for a reason. Don't think they down there just putting prices on. Buy a really expensive pair of shoes, ladies. Buy a really expensive purse one time. Just go on down there, buy the real Louis Vuitton that ain't ever on sale. Louis Vuitton don't even have sales. Just get you one. When you carry it, it changes your life. It will then cause your mind to subconsciously produce thoughts to get another one. And next thing you know, you attract the thing you need to produce the outcome that you want. Life is all about the law of attraction.
So Andrew Carnegie said something very simple. See, I can keep my mind focused on something for 5 minutes at a stretch. 5 minutes. Can any of you do it? All the senators. They thought, what's the problem with 5 minutes? And he set up an experiment. They tried to keep their attention, they couldn't keep it for a few seconds. One moment here, one moment there, this is the fate of most human beings. So then he said, you should not be running United States. So, human ability, there's something called as chitta. There's a different… see, in English language, mind is mind. Largely you're considering the memory part of your mind as mind. In the yogic system, there are Four main aspects of the mind. I'll not go into the detail, but the memory part of the mind is of least importance. It's the chitta, which is connected with the consciousness, which is most important. If you find a shape for your chitta, that shape will manifest always, because it's empowered by life-making material which for lack of words we're using the word consciousness, that which is the basis of life. Once your mind is yoked to that, then what shape your mind takes, mind is like a cloud, you can make it any shape. You can make it godlike, you can make it a devil out of it, you can make a pig out of it, you can make whatever out of it, you know? It's a nebulous thing. So what shape you give to your chitta, it will always manifest in the world because it's empowered by life-making energy behind it. So that is the most important aspect of the mind, not the memory. Memory is important to handle the material aspects.
Do you have the courage to think? Because if you can think, you can change, you can move, you can evolve, you can grow, you can become. You are one idea away. Your credit is not a problem, your car is not a problem, your situation is not a problem, your thoughts are the problem. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
There's a simple but often overlooked premise in business, and that is new growth comes from new thinking. New growth comes from new thinking. Expecting new growth for your business without new ways of thinking about it is like a farmer expecting new crops to grow without first planting the seeds.
So now is the season for you to move distractions, confusion, turmoil out of the way, to find a peaceful place where you can meditate and think, what am I going to do at this season in my life? What am I going to do with this age and stage? What could I do with the circumstances in my life? What would you do with what you have to make it better? One thought.
It's the time if you want to be on top of your game. Now listen, this is not for everybody. The masses will use their time being a spectator. We have been conditioned and programmed to be spectators, to watch people live their dreams. You want to use your time living the kind of life that people watch you. You want to use your time perfecting your skill and your passion to stand out as an expert.
Everything starts in the thoughts you think. You are no better than the thoughts you think. If you think little, you go little. If you think weak, you go weak. If you think up, you go up. One thought. Slap yourself in the head. One thought. That's how close you are.
Use your time to operate from that consciousness of Henry David Thoreau, who said, do not go where the path may lead, go where there is no path and leave a trail. If you just decide, I'm going to find something that I would enjoy doing, and then I'm going to carve out the time and have a schedule that I'm working on it every day, listen to me, nobody can touch you. There's no competition. There's no excuse today for not becoming successful. Even if you just lost your job, even if you're going through foreclosure and eviction, you can come back. You have no competition because the majority of the people throw their time away and they have nothing to show for it.
When you think about growing, whenever you're faced with a situation that you can't control and you make the decision to grow, it kind of trims the fat, right? The things that are not important, the things that are no longer something that you got to just focus on every single day. I'm talking about foolishness, right? When you make that decision to grow, it's just like in marriage, just like being a father. You zoom in on that thing on such a level to where it's like opposition is what it is, the challenge is what it is, but every single day I'm going to come in and be intentional about growth. And when you change the way you think about growth, right? When you change your perspective, how you see things, the opportunity for growth, man, is limitless. Every single day, you got all of us in the world that are dealing with a similar situation, but people are responding differently. It's like the quote that says, we all got problems, but what makes us different is how we solve them, right? Everybody is faced with different situations, but what makes them different is how they solve them. And so for me, man, the greatest thing that's happened as a result of this pandemic, of this corona, of this COVID, is every single day I wake up and I'm intentional about my growth. I'm intentional about it.
You see, the largest gap between successful and unsuccessful people in life is the thinking gap. I'm not talking about being smart. I'm not talking about an IQ. I'm talking about how you think, how I think. Successful people think differently than unsuccessful people. The most important real estate, the most important real estate in life is 6 inches between the ears. How we think. Becoming a better thinker is worth your effort because the way you think really impacts every aspect of your life. It doesn't matter whether you are a business person, teacher, parent, scientist, pastor, or corporate executive. Good thinking will make you a better business person, teacher, parent, scientist, pastor, or corporate executive. Good thinking creates the foundation for good results. If you don't like the crop you're reaping, you need to change the seed you're sowing. When it comes to achievement, the seed is your thinking. Good thinking increases your potential. If your thinking shapes who you are, then it naturally follows that your potential is determined by your thinking. Achieving your potential comes from making progress, and progress is often just a good idea away. For many people, the greatest detriment to their success tomorrow is their thinking today. If their thinking is limited, so is their potential. But if people can keep growing in their thinking, they will constantly outgrow what they're doing. Good thinking produces more good thinking if you make it a habit. Albert Einstein observed, "The solutions to the problems we face today cannot be solved on the same level of thinking we were at when we created them." Look around you, and you'll see that it is true. The world keeps getting more and more complicated. The good news is that no matter how complicated life gets or how difficult problems may seem, good thinking can make a difference if you make it a consistent part of your life.
It's easy to go around thinking that the obstacle is too big, we'll never get well, this virus is going to get the best of us. We wonder why we don't have any strength, why we can't get ahead. It's because our thoughts are limiting us. We draw in what we constantly think about. You can't think defeat and have victory. You can't think weakness and have strength. Your life is going to follow your thoughts. Instead of thinking these weak, defeated, not able to thoughts, you need to think power thoughts. This sickness is no match for me. This virus can't stop my destiny. This trouble at work is not how my story ends. Victory starts in our mind. Success, breakthroughs, new levels depends on our thinking. Be careful what you think because your thoughts run your life. Are your thoughts helping you or hurting you? Are you thinking power thoughts, victory thoughts, well-able thoughts? Or are you thinking defeated thoughts? I'll never get well, never accomplish my dreams, never break this addiction. You're choosing which direction your life is going to go. Pay attention to what you're dwelling on. Don't just think any thought that comes to mind. If it's negative, discouraging, fearful, don't give it the time of day.
To be productive, to make an impact, to create a presence. That's why we're here. To work, to leave our mark. And so do an evaluation of yourself. Ask yourself, if you look at 24 hours, how much time do you spend developing your mind? How much time do you spend learning a new skill? The economy has changed. 47 million jobs will be lost to artificial intelligence. Majority of money being made on the planet is being made virtually at home on a computer. The game has changed. And I'm encouraging you, get around people who are using their time productively. because people rub off on you. When you know your purpose, that narrows how you use your time. How are you using your time? You have something special. You have the ability to do more than you can ever begin to imagine.
And I know this isn't like breakthrough news to anyone, but I think that we often forget this. And we're gonna face hardships. We can't avoid pain. We can't avoid trouble. All we can do is prepare our mindset so that we don't get overwhelmed by our circumstances. A lot of people, when they have a negative circumstance take place in their life, they react negatively to it. I mean, that seems almost natural. In fact, that is natural. Something negative happens to me, my reaction back to it is negative. But this is why you have to change your mindset.
And I'm saying to you, if you keep going, if you keep looking for a way, where there's a will, there's a way. If you keep moving, if you keep falling forward, if you keep getting back up, something's going to happen. Bob Marley said something I like. He said, you never know how strong you are until being strong is all you have. You never know how strong you are until being strong is all you have. It's your only option. And you'll discover, if you don't panic, if you don't run, you'll discover you are stronger than you give yourself credit for being.
First of all, you need to know them for your own life, because you got to know that there are differences in intelligence. It's really important. If you go into a job and you're not smart enough for that job, you're going to have one bloody miserable time, and you're going to make life wretched for the people around you because you won't be able to handle the position. And as you climb hierarchies of competence, the demand on fluid intelligence increases. And so unless you want to fail, you don't put yourself in over your head. Well, what's over your head? Well, that's a tricky thing to figure out. I mean, you have to figure that out with intelligence, you have to figure it out with conscientiousness, you have to figure it out with creativity, you have to figure it out with stress tolerance, with agreeableness, because you want to go into a cooperative environment and not a competitive one if you're agreeable, and with neuroticism, you probably want to keep the stress level of your job relatively low, because those are all places that you can break down. And most people have at least one significant weakness in their intelligence personality makeup, and you got to be careful not to place yourself in a position where that's going to be a fatal flaw. But what you really want to do, as far as I can tell, if you want to maximize your chances for both success and let's say well-being, is you want to find a strata of occupation in which you would have an intelligence that would put you in the upper quartile. That's perfect. Then you're a big fish in a small pond. And you don't want to be the stupidest guy in the room. It's a bloody rough place to be. So, and you probably don't want to be the smartest guy in the room either, because what that probably means is you should be in a different room, right? You should look at a place where if you're right at the top, you've mastered it. It's time to go somewhere where you're a little lower so that you've got something to climb up for. So, and if you're not hyper conscientious, for example, you're probably not going to want a job that you have to work 70 hours a week at, because you're just not wired up that way. You'd rather have some leisure, and like, more power to you. If that's how you're wired up, there's nothing wrong with having some leisure. But if you're someone who can't stand sitting around doing nothing ever, then maybe you can go into a job that's going to require you to work 75 hours a week. And almost all jobs that are at the top of complex dominance hierarchies require very high intelligence and insane levels of conscientiousness, as well, generally speaking, as pretty damn high levels of stress tolerance, because that can knock you out too, because there's going to be sharp fluctuations in your career, generally speaking, at the higher levels of a structure, and you have to make very complicated decisions, often with very short time horizons. So you have to decide if that's what you want. So, okay, so how smart do you have to be different things in life? Well, if you have an IQ of 116 to 130, which is 85th percentile and above, so it's one person in 8 up to one person in 130, I believe, is 85, 90, 95? Is it 95? I think it's 95. One person in 8 to one person in 20. Then you can be an attorney, a research analyst, an editor, an advertising manager, a chemist, an engineer, an executive manager, etc. Now, that's not the high end for IQ, by the way. That it can go up Well, it can go up indefinitely, although there's fewer and fewer people as it goes up. So if you want to be the best at what you're doing, bar none, then having an IQ of above 145 is a necessity, and maybe you're pushing 160 in some situations.
The moment you start getting feedback in your outer world with cool things happening, you're going to pay attention to what you did to create that, and you're going to do it again. And now you're going to begin to believe that you're more of a creator of your life than you are a victim of your life. Now let's just talk about being a victim of your life. If I approached you and I said, Brian, why the long face? And you said, oh my goodness, I got a flat tire today, or that person didn't accept my offer, or whatever it was, or, this person is bothering me. What you're really saying is something in your outer world is absolutely capturing all of your attention, and it's causing you to think and feel a certain way. And yet how you think and feel creates your life. So the moment you give your power away to some person or something, the stronger the emotion you feel, the more you're going to pay attention to that person, and where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So it makes sense then that every time you say, I am this way because of something out there, you're unconsciously signing up to be a victim to your life. And yet when you start taking time away from your life and retreating and changing how you think and feel, now this just isn't a panacea. That doesn't mean you do it and then you get up and you get on the freeway and you start cutting people off. You're doing it to change your brain and body to stay in that state of being. If you happen to maintain that modified state of mind and body for a good portion of your day, weird and unusual things are going to happen in your life, and when they start happening, you're going to rush the next day to sit down and do it again, because you're going to begin to realize it works and you're going to want more of it, right? So 30 years of doing this, nobody changes until they change their energy. I know that. And when you change your energy, you change your life, and it is like magic. Getting people beyond their habituations, their hardwired attitudes, their emotional addictions, and causing them to step into the unknown, that void, the biological, the neurological, the chemical, the hormonal, the genetic death of the old self. They got to be in that river of change, and they got to be in that place of uncertainty. The hardest part about change is not making the same choices you did the day before. And the moment you start making new choices, get ready. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel unfamiliar. There's going to be some uncertainty. You can't predict the next moment. You're in the unknown. So most people, they run back to the familiar and they say, oh, this feels better. No, it feels familiar. It doesn't feel right. It feels familiar. And yet the person who crosses that river and says, what thoughts do I want to fire and wire in my brain? What behaviors do I want to demonstrate? The act of closing your eyes and rehearsing the behaviors you're going to demonstrate in one day begins to install the neurological hardware in your brain to look like it already happened. You are priming your brain and those circuits in your brain to begin to think that way or to act that way. Who knows, you may just start acting like a healthy person. You may start thinking like a genius. Well, you install the circuits. There's no magic there.
No idea works until you do the work. I mean, the reality is, reading a book or going to a conference or having a great conversation where you get this golden information, that's all fantastic. But what makes mastery is execution on the ideas, not the ideas. And so no idea works unless you're willing to roll up your sleeves, do the practice, invest the time, put in the effort, do the work. I think we've all observed a lot of people who, they love reading the books, they love showing up at the courses, they do all the online training, and nothing ever changes. And they say, well, I don't know why it doesn't change, why my life doesn't change, why my thinking doesn't change, why my performance doesn't change, why my relationships don't change. Well, it's because ideas don't work if you don't execute on them. So if you look at the great business builders, you look at any great performer, one thing that makes them great is their grit. One thing that makes them great is their hunger to practice. One thing that makes them great is they are willing to sacrifice. I mean, yes, they're passionate, but did you know the root of the word passion is suffering? You've got to be willing to suffer for your vision. You've got to be willing to suffer to reach BIW, best in world. You've got to be willing to suffer the ridicule and laughter of your critics and your cynics to get to a place called world class. Double your income and impact, triple your investment in 2 areas, your personal development and your professional education. I'm going to repeat that again because it's such an important maxim. To double your income and impact, triple your investment in 2 areas, your personal development and your professional education. I had a conversation the other day with someone and he shared something fascinating. He said, in my culture, we have a principle to invest 10% in our personal development, 10% of their income in their personal education. And that's part of their culture where they live in the world. And I've never heard that before, and I thought that was fascinating. It's almost like tithing, but when it comes to personal development. And so, why do I suggest you invest in your personal development and your professional education? Well, investing in your personal development makes you more positive. It makes you more fearless. It makes you more confident. It makes you more self-aware. Investing in your personal development is all about getting to know your true nature, your potential. And when you connect with who you truly are, your potential and your inner genius and your creativity and your talents, of course that's going to make you exponentially more successful in the world. And then the second area to invest in dramatically is your professional education. You want to go to a conference every 3 months. You want to have a circle of mentors. You want to be in the rooms with the A players. Why? Because when you know more, you can achieve more. When you know more about your work and your craft and your skill than anyone else who has ever done it, you're going to be untouchable because you're going to see things that most people can't see.